If I were to ask you to name some of the most iconic predator-prey relationships, then I'm sure certain apex predators would feature. Some of you might mention lions and wildebeest, bears and moose, or even sharks and seals, but every now and again there are some predator-prey relationships that don't really seem to make sense. In some rare cases, cats have preyed on giant reptiles, and some mysterious marine creatures have consumed one of the most formidable land predators alive today. In today's video, I'll be focusing on some of the strangest predator-prey relationships, and we'll start off in the frigid Arctic waters. The polar bear is the largest species of bear alive today, and it appears to fear no other animal in its ecosystem. They'll often target animals many times their own size, such as walruses and beluga whales, and the only other animals that can really end their lives are other polar bears and man. This is why it would be more than a little strange to find out that the polar bear was targeted by another predator. But there's one mysterious case where this has happened. The most obvious culprit behind the polar bear predation would be the orca, but there's never been a documented case where orcas have hunted polar bears. And as I've covered many times before, orcas tend to only hunt what they have been taught to. Instead, the predator in this case was a shark, and it's one of the most mysterious and nightmare-inducing sharks in our oceans. The Greenland shark is a large, slow-moving shark that inhabits the North Atlantic and Arctic oceans, and it's a species that you wouldn't really want to share the water with. They are often given the nickname of zombie shark due to their appearance and unnerving demeanour, and they have a few abilities and adaptations that seem to be unnatural. They have the longest lifespan of any known vertebrate, with some individuals reaching the grand old age of 500 years old. This means that there is likely a Greenland shark alive today that was born when the European ships first started reaching the Americas. At some stages of their lives, they only grow at a rate of around 1 centimetre a year, and when fully grown, they can reach lengths of up to 6.4 metres. This size means that they can target a wide range of prey, but because of their slow metabolism and their low twitch speed muscle fibre, they have to hunt in a very creepy way that fits their reputation. It's believed that they get a lot of their food through scavenging, but they are known to target larger animals such as seals by creeping up on them while they're sleeping. A Greenland shark is probably the last thing that you want to see while you're trying to fall asleep on the ocean floor, and their unpicky habits when it comes to what they eat has led to some strange discoveries. Moose, horses, and reindeer have been found inside their stomachs, and as you might have already guessed, they have eaten polar bears too. It's not believed that the Greenland shark in this case successfully hunted the polar bear while it was swimming, as instead it's been suggested that the polar bear was already dead when the Greenland shark in question found it. The specimen was found around the Svalbard archipelago where the Greenland sharks are likely hunting seals, so it probably came across a dead polar bear and decided to give it a try. It would be great to know the full story behind this discovery, but unfortunately, just like the Greenland shark itself, this story is shrouded in mystery. Now, our next predator-prey relationship is a bit of a controversial one, as it's a story that's often misinterpreted. I've decided to include it anyway because if I didn't, then the comment section would be full of people suggesting it. And if you haven't guessed already, our next story involves the orca and the largest deer in the world. Now, if they wanted to, orcas could hunt every single animal that enters their ecosystem. They actively hunt the largest animal alive today, and they'll even target formidable marine predators such as great white sharks. They are such effective hunters that they have been known to play with their food, and they even sometimes let their prey get away. But this doesn't tell the full story. Orcas are more complex and intelligent than most people give them credit for, and they have certain behaviours that still baffle us. As I've already covered, orcas tend to only hunt what they have been taught to, which is one of the reasons why orcas have never killed a human in the wild. Some orca ecotypes never interact with one another, and they hunt completely different animals. There are some populations that mostly feed on large marine mammals, and there are others that almost exclusively target fish. This is why a lot of people are skeptical when it's claimed that orcas hunt animals that they aren't usually known to, and this is especially the case when it comes to the moose. Now, the moose does spend a lot of its time in and around water, and they do share their ecosystem with orcas in a few locations across their range. This has led some people to claim that they hunt moose on a regular basis, but the evidence for this theory isn't that convincing. Most sources supporting this claim lead to YouTube videos suggesting that orcas regularly hunt moose, and even though a lot of YouTubers do a good amount of research, it's not exactly scientific evidence. There does seem to be a reference to fishermen witnessing a pod of orcas hunting 2 moose, with them managing to kill one and the other getting away. This seems to be just one of 2 credible sources on the topic, which shows us that this is an incredibly rare occurrence. Even though there have probably been a handful of cases where orcas have hunted moose, this behaviour is incredibly rare and almost never happens. Despite this, people seem to be fascinated with this extremely rare relationship, and this is possibly because it's so hard to imagine this happening in the wild. So even though it's extremely rare, it does seem to have happened at least a few times in the past, and we have to count ourselves lucky that they haven't targeted humans yet. Our next animal is the true king of strange predator-prey relationships, and to find it we'll have to head into our oceans. I could easily make 3 different sections in this video based on the tiger shark, as famously they'll eat pretty much anything that they come across. This has led to their accurate nickname of trash can of the ocean, as they'll even eat inanimate objects that they come across in their ecosystem. As well as swallowing things that definitely aren't worth eating, they'll also target land animals that enter the ocean from time to time. This fearlessness when hunting alien animals is part of the reason why they are one of the top 3 species behind shark attacks on humans, and this behaviour has led to some strange discoveries over the years. In May of 2022, when tagging a tiger shark off the coast of Australia, researchers witnessed a large tiger shark regurgitating a whole echidna. If you're unaware, the echidnas are very much land-dwelling spiny mammals, and they have no business being in the deep ocean or being inside of a tiger shark. There are a few theories regarding how these 2 animals could have met, but the true story will always remain a mystery. The echidna could have been swept into the ocean by a flood, or could have fell into a fast-flowing river, or the echidna could have been travelling between 2 islands before it met its unfortunate end. Echidnas are surprisingly good swimmers, and sometimes on hot days they will go for a swim to cool off. This means that tiger sharks could come into contact with these mammals more than we might think. But these land mammals aren't the only animals to end up in tiger sharks' stomachs. Horses, bats, dogs and cats have been found inside of tiger sharks, but one of the more interesting cases involves young tiger sharks hunting birds. Between 2010 and 2018, researchers caught and examined 105 tiger sharks in the Gulf of Mexico and discovered that 41 of them had songbird feathers in their stomachs. Most of the specimens in question were juveniles, and this evidence uncovered a predator-prey relationship that was surprisingly common. For a long time, we've known that tiger sharks will target seabirds, but the birds found in this study were mostly land birds such as sparrows, wrens and doves. Some experts believe that this is the result of storms blowing songbirds off course when they're migrating, and when they hit the water or drown, the young tiger sharks are more than happy to snap them up. You'd think that this would be a very rare occurrence, but this study uncovered that this is a relatively common event. Really, I could go on and talk about many weird and wonderful stories involving this apex predator, but I think it's time to move on to our next animal. Like the orca, tigers are free to prey on and attack pretty much anything they wish to, with only a few giants being too dangerous to nibble on. They aren't shy when it comes to targeting other predators in their ecosystem, with them regularly going after other cats and in some cases even brown bears. To many, this predator-prey relationship is shocking enough, but in some rare cases they have been known to target a snappy group of reptiles. There are quite a few crocodilians that can be found across the tiger's range, and one of the more formidable examples is the mugger crocodile. This reptile is known for having a relatively broad snout for a crocodile, and this makes it appear almost like an alligator. It does live a very similar life to the alligators of North America, but they are known for being more aggressive and are generally larger. They can reach a maximum length of around 5.6 meters, and they have been known to claim human lives, with some sources claiming that they kill around 50 people a year. Despite their feisty reputation, they do coexist with other crocodilians, such as the critically endangered gharial and the mighty saltwater crocodile. Unfortunately for the mugger crocodile, they have been unable to find peace with the tiger, as this big cat will sometimes prey on this scaly crocodilian. Now, a tiger hunting a small crocodile isn't really that impressive because even birds will target hatchlings, but there have been a few cases where tigers have slain adults. Of course, this is a very rare occurrence due to the obvious danger, but desperate or starving tigers are much more likely to take the risk. Killing a large crocodilian is no easy feat, but they aren't the only cats that have proven to be capable of doing this. Famously, jaguars will regularly hunt caiman and they have become masters at doing so. And if you believe some sources, the mugger crocodile will also fall victim to Asiatic lions from time to time. This just reiterates how formidable these cats are, but it's not like we needed reminding in the first place. The Nutria is one of the most successful invasive species on the planet, with them being found in many countries outside of their native range. These rodents can be found in many non-native ecosystems with predators that could easily target them, but somehow they still manage to survive. Their semi-aquatic nature does offer them an escape route when confronted with land predators, but across Eurasia there's one fish that will make the Nutria think twice before going for a swim. The Wels catfish is basically a giant head with a tail, and this gives us a clue as to how they hunt. They choose to sneak up on their prey and swallow them whole, and as some Wels catfish can reach 2 meters long, they can target surprisingly large prey. Famously, they will stalk and snatch pigeons, but they have also been known to swallow nutria. Like the tiger shark, they'll target pretty much anything that moves and that they can fit into their mouths, but there's a risk that comes with feeding in this way. Some Wels catfish have died after trying to eat animals that are far too big, such as this example where a Wels catfish choked on a red-eared slider. If you were an animal the size of a nutria, then you'd assume that you'd be relatively safe in Europe's fresh waters, but this giant catfish is the last thing that many semi-aquatic animals see. Lions are most often seen working together to take down giant ungulates before devouring them, but not all lion populations hunt in this way. Some populations don't have the luxury of choosing between different animals to target, and they have to take advantage of pretty much every animal that they come across. This is definitely the case for some lions in the Namib Desert, and they have started to look to the ocean for food. The lions of the Skeleton Coast have seen a decline in their normal prey, which usually consists of ostriches and oryx, and instead of giving up and disappearing, they have started to adapt. Even though this area is devoid of the vast majority of large mammals that can be found in other parts of Africa, its marine waters are lush and full of life. There are hundreds of thousands of fur seals that can be found along the Skeleton Coast, and these animals have been given a pretty bad deal. Not only do they have to avoid marine predators in the form of orcas and sharks, but in recent years they've had to look out for lions more frequently. If the lions can catch the fur seals off guard, then they're pretty easy prey, as famously they aren't the fastest when they're on land. Of course, it would be pretty hard for the desert lions to rely on fur seals alone, but these aren't the only animals that they've set their eyes upon. They've also been witnessed hunting seabirds such as cormorants, and some sneaky individuals have even been able to catch flamingos. Because these lions hunt very different prey to other lion populations across Africa, if they were able to survive for long enough, then it's possible that they could start to evolve to their new way of life, and possibly gain different adaptations to aid their new lifestyle. Of course, it's impossible to predict this at this point in time, but we can count ourselves lucky that the desert lions haven't disappeared like a lot of their prey along the Skeleton Coast. For our final section, we don't have to travel anywhere, as I've already mentioned our next animal. The Cape fur seal has to be a pretty hardy creature to survive in its harsh environment, but they aren't completely helpless when they come across predators in the water. Of course, it's much harder for them to escape from orcas than it is for them to escape from sharks, and when faced with sharks, they have a few strategies to avoid and confuse them. They'll often congregate in large groups and swim in different directions to confuse the shark, and they'll often swim with as little porpoising as possible so that they can always see what's below them. They'll also follow and harass large sharks so that they lose the element of surprise and they are unable to catch them off guard, and they'll swim near the dorsal fin to make sure that they are safe when doing so. For some fur seals, simply ruining a shark's day and bullying it isn't enough, and they choose to go on the attack. Now, I'm not saying that fur seals are able to work together and take down a great white, but they are known to target smaller sharks. Their most common victim comes in the form of the blue shark, which is mostly an open ocean species. When it was first discovered that fur seals hunt blue sharks regularly back in 2004, it was a big surprise, as it reverses one of the most famous predator-prey relationships of all time. Sharks have always targeted pinnipeds, but in this strange instance, the hardy fur seals have gone on the attack. Of course, they are not the only seals to target sharks, as leopard seals have been known to target ghost sharks, with the spines from these fish being found embedded in some leopard seals' faces. So even though it's relatively rare, seals will and do target sharks, but the great white isn't really at risk from these mammals. Of course, there are many other relationships that I could have featured, so if you have any good suggestions, then let me know down below. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.